Hi and welcome to this week's Peace Diaries, number 6. I'm Helen Jane Rose. I'm an author, channel automatic writer, and I'll be reading the Peace Diaries report, which is guidance from the DC, as we affectionately call them, the Divine Council, on how we can become more peaceful within us. So the whole ethos of their teachings is to help to guide us to an inner state of peace. And so every week I write through automatic writing a report, and then I read it out verbatim, and then my lovely partner Jed comes and joins me, and he is an acupuncturist, a cranial sacral therapist, an energy healer, and he comes and joins me and helps to unpack what's been written and to kind of bring his own wisdom from his practice and his own life experience. So I'm going to just start now just to read out what I wrote today. Welcome, beautiful souls, to this week's Peace Diaries 6. A week in the cosmos where you would do well to really hone in on your inner world and choose even more deeply to commit to healing all that is between you and your inner experience of peace. There is so much we can teach you about the pathway to experiencing inner peace, and as we have said many times now, a path that used to seem so elusive, exclusive if you like, is now attainable to those who wish it to be so for them. You couldn't have an inner drive to experience inner peace if it wasn't part of your life path. We hope by saying this to you, it makes it feel all the more attainable for you. The calling to inner peace comes from within you, just like the calling to awakening does too. Some can pinpoint the exact moment, and for others it was a gradual occurring where they could never see life the same again. It's like crossing over a threshold that you then can't come back from, for you have inwardly changed and nothing anyone could say to you could change that for you. Although of course there are the wobbles, and that is what we would like to discuss here. We wish to talk about the wobbles and how valuable they are for you. Now, what do we mean by wobbles? What we are referring to is those moments that occur when you doubt the path, mainly when you doubt yourself, your inner connection, moments when your faith and trust are tested, if you like. But they're not really tested in the slightest. This is a very mind-based concept that we will use just to help you understand what we're referring to. You see, the wobbles serve to assist you to becoming the next highest version of yourselves. Now, what do we mean by that? They act to strengthen your soul connection, higher self connection, and lessen your mind's control over you. Yes, while an experience is happening, it can feel very painful to you. Yet on the other side, you feel different within you. We'd like to make something clear here. This is what occurs when you have consciously, wholeheartedly made a commitment to this path. As we have said before, it isn't for the faint-hearted, and many half commit. We say this in a humorous way, that when we hear cries of, "How can this be happening to me?" and blame is put so strongly on another for how one is feeling, we hope to remind you that at a deep level you agreed to the experience, to assist you in helping you to become more of your sovereign soul self. We can hear you asking, why does it have to be this way? And our best way of explaining this to you is that you overcome your mind's hold over you through connecting deeply with your feeling sense. Pain is a portal to peace. We actually started to write this as a book through Helen with that title that she has forgotten about. Perhaps she will bring it back to life. We promise you this: the pain isn't something that you have to keep experiencing. At a certain point, it switches as you start to feel a deep sense of peace within you. And then this portal is no longer needed. You no longer need to feel the pain, as a peace becomes anchored within you. And as peace becomes anchored within you, the external reflects this back to you. As you fully become healed within you, you become whole, you become reconnected to the true you. Your soul self feels its way through life. And as that skill, if you like, is resurrected from within you, you no longer need pain, as the connection to your full feeling sense has been anchored within you. We hope this makes sense to you. This is where we'd like to leave you. We love you, the DC. Okay, and as always, every week I just tune in now and see if any extra message or guidance wants to come through, or a meditation has been happening in the past few weeks. Okay, so I'm just going to close my eyes. We wish to bring your attention to above your head, and to imagine for a moment a disc of light almost hovering above your head, imagining it to be slightly bigger than your head itself, as if in your mind's eye you're just putting your awareness there, just using your imagination, your skill of inner visualization, and just sitting for a moment and imagining a sphere, a disc of light, if you like, above your head. And you're just bringing your attention to it, you're connecting into it. And as you're putting your awareness there, it's as if that light is expanding. You could say it now looks like an umbrella of light above you. And perhaps you could imagine that like the handle of an umbrella, a handle coming down through your crown is like a line of light coming from the disc above you. And you're just opening and allowing that light to come into you. You're just connecting with that light that's above you. And you're just opening and allowing that light to come in. Just imagining that that light is moving down into your heart center. And it's alive. Maybe you feel your heart pulsing more, responding physically to the new energy that's coming into your physical body. Just sitting, allowing this light to come through to you. And as you sit in this space, we ask you to feel into this hard concept for the mind and the body to fathom, Yet the soul self knows the truth to what we say to you here. That the feeling of pain within you has so much purpose, even when you wish so much for it not to be there. You are not counteracting its influence, if you like. However, it's your perception that's everything. Now you obviously want not to ignore the feelings, and this is part of the alchemy. You feel into it, you allow yourself wholeheartedly to feel what is being brought up. You allow it, you nurture yourself through it in whichever way works for you. And then you allow the soul self through. And the soul self helps for you to change your perception on it. And as you allow yourself to change your perception and to bring yourself back to your soul self, so the alchemy takes place. You need not understand why what has occurred. It's about reconnecting within the pain to the soul self and allowing yourself that space from your mind who can't and doesn't have the answers for you. It's a surrender. And just sitting for a moment more. Being bathed in light, if you like. You might say that an energy healing is taking place for you in the sense of helping to shift your perception, to help the path become easier for you. To help you remember and embody more of the light that is you. We love you. Okay, finding it hard to speak after that, so I'm gonna ask Jed to come and join me.
Well, hi everybody, and thank you to Helen once again. I have to admit that meditation put me out halfway through. I don't know about you guys, but that felt incredibly strong and powerful. And I have to admit I benefited from that yesterday. So it's obviously very prevalent in the DC's offering this week. It's a very deep healing, and I encourage you to do it over and over. At any time in the future when you feel like something needs shifting, you need helping with, it's very strong, and it's also something you can do yourself. Start to hone your imaginary skills So they're giving us a lever, a lift up to help us with our own healing.
And just on from that, I apologise if I sound a bit sleepy because I still feel like quite heavy. I feel like I was saying it, but I feel like I experienced something while I was saying it. So yeah, apologies if I'm a little bit.
Well, I know your voice went quieter, so hopefully you guys will be able to hear it. Pump up the volume if you can't, and put your earphones in. But yeah, do enjoy that. I'm sure you get a lot of benefit. So this week's number 6, slightly different again. There's some more, obviously the theme inner peace, because that's what the Peace Diaries is about, but they're suggesting there's lots of different ways in, and this is another of them. How was your experience of it, channeling?
I actually really enjoyed this one because it made me smile when I wasn't expecting the word wobble to come into it, and it kind of made me smile because there are so many wobbles on this path, and I just found it interesting that that's the first time since we've been doing this where that phrase was used, wobble. And it is exactly that. We just get knocked off our so yeah, I just thought it made me smile.
I think if I'm correct, the NASA scientists use it as well, don't they? Because the Earth wobbles on its path.
Oh, interesting.
So maybe wobble is a necessary event in the path of all life in the universe, not just humans.
Yeah, interesting.
It's the imperfection that is the beauty in it all. And wobbling is where we're at right now for many of us. In fact, not all of us probably. I doubt if anyone's not wobbling right now in some way, shape or form. So they've come in to reassure us that the wobble is by design, I suppose.
Yeah. Nice.
And they do mention the cosmos again this week. They used it last week, didn't they?
Yeah.
Maybe they're wanting to draw our attention to the cosmos.
Yeah, what do you think when you read that? What came to your mind?
Well, when you gave me the channel, I had a sort of sneaky little look at astrology. And I'm not an astrologist, but I do listen to some very interesting ones. Pam Gregory being my favourite. She's quintessentially English but incredibly knowledgeable and has a spiritual leaning as well, which is another flavour, another dimension into the mix. So if you're interested in astrology, go and look at her website, her YouTube. She's quite incredible. So anyway, I had a quick look. Actually, this information didn't come from her, but so it says a week in the cosmos, you would do well to really hone in on your inner world and choose even more deeply to commit to healing. So there's something going on in the week in which this goes out, which is actually this week.
Yes.
So I just had a glance. In a few days' time. I just had a quick glance at what was going on in the cosmos astrologically. The first thing that showed up was that Saturn is turning retrograde. So for those of you that don't know, retrograde is when, because all the planets in the solar system run at different speeds, and sometimes one catches up with another. And there's a period of time where there's a changeover in position, and that's called retrograde, and it can turn the qualities or effects of those planets in reverse. So Saturn, being the biggest planet in our solar system, has the biggest energies and the biggest impact, biggest dramas, and so with being in retrograde, there could be some disturbance in the system on big events, not just for the world stage, but big events in your own life. So they're asking, or the astrology recommendation is just to be mindful of boundaries, which was interesting because that came up last week.
Interesting.
So, don't dive into big events without checking out the boundaries first, whatever that means for you. The other one was the sun in the Leo energy. Leo is creative expression, so the sun is boosting creative expression. And interestingly, it's big ideas and big drama, so you've got a complete conflict of interest there. So you've got sun in Leo promoting drama and Saturn retrograde being careful or wary of drama. And the last one, most people, if you're into retrograde, have heard of Mercury retrograde, because that's the one everyone runs under the duvet for, because it's about miscommunication. And we've just come out of retrograde and we're now Mercury direct, which means all the miscommunications from the past period of retrograde are now going to be revealed and I suppose corrected. So the advice there is to get organised, double check your plans, tidy up your communication if it's historical as well. So, looking at that from an all-inclusive perspective, you've potentially got chaos. So maybe that's why they're telling us that actually you need to go inside and stay in the peace of the inner world, if that's what you've created. Anyway, it's just an interesting perspective on it. But do your own research. Do your own research. There are other astrologers out there if you're interested in that sort of thing.
No, that's great. Thanks for that perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question to you is the DC, and I feel like they have referred to this last week, but it feels a little bit more direct now when they say inner peace. It's almost like they're saying it's becoming more and more attainable. Yeah, I think what they say, what do they actually say? They say a path that used to seem so elusive, exclusive, is now attainable to those who wish it to be. Does it feel more attainable to you?
It feels more realistic. I suppose that ultimately means it's attainable, yes. I mean, based on listening to the truth reports on the subsequent Peace Diaries, I would say for sure, because they've given us so much information. In a court of law, that would be overwhelming circumstantial evidence, but I guess the way I feel is for sure. Well, they also said, don't they, that if it's your path, then it's your path. So I guess if you're listening to this or in any way curious about a spiritual journey, enlightenment as the destination, I suppose, then you're going to some way find yourself on the path. So I think it's in your DNA. And all of these, channelings from other amazing teachers and mystics is to awaken things that are inside you. It's not to put them in there, they're already in there. And so I guess we're just waking up to the idea that it is possible, because it always has been. For everybody, but for more for those that are curious now. And also, not just the fact that it's in your DNA, your soul, if you subscribe to this idea, and the more I sort of pay attention to this and listen to this and meditate on this, it can only be that whatever happens in your life is decided more or less before you come. And I don't mean the outcomes, I mean the dramas, the challenges, or not just bad stuff, good stuff as well. So your soul, if you're on this path, has decided to waken up to the idea of inner peace is attainable. And I firmly believe that. A lot of others do too, and there's more and more waking up to that possibility every day. So yes, is the answer to your question.
Which leads very nicely on to my next question, where they say many can pinpoint when they first started to like awaken, and then it says for others it was gradual. Just wondering how would you describe it for you?
Well, I think you first, because yours is clear and obvious, isn't it, really? In terms of the automatic writing aspect of it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So for me, it wasn't gradual. I think I've mentioned before, it happened when I was doing a inner child healing, where I was writing with one hand and answering with another. And then the information that I started to write, I knew it wasn't from me, because when I read it back, I was about to use the word shock, but actually I was in awe of what had happened. So that was an absolute defining moment for me.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of channels, well, that's more than a decade, maybe 2 decades. Teachers, amazing teachers. I've had the luxury of spending time with some of them, and I guess the ones that are teaching now, and I put you in that category. Not all of them, but most of them have had a sort of in the moment. Something has happened quite drastically in their life that they can pinpoint that time. I don't know why that would be, but I'm definitely on the other side of that. My experience was definitely gradual. Yeah, I mean, I remember my elder sister, she did Reiki. She'd probably be annoyed at telling me the amount of years. It was probably about 35 years ago. So when it sort of first hit the stage in the UK anyway. And she gave me a treatment and I kind of brushed it off. But some weeks later I went on took myself to Glastonbury, and this is way before I'd had any thoughts about doing any of this, and I did a Reiki course in Glastonbury, and it was the most crazy experience, and I quickly shut the door on all of that because they were just basically mad. They were all seeing angels and unicorns, and I wasn't seeing any of those things. But that something was tapping away there, and I came back to it some years later. I can't really remember what happened in those years, but it's definitely been a slow burn, a gradual experience for me. But I think when you get to a certain stage, it becomes more rapid and involved, and you become aware of things more. You start to notice information coming back at you in different ways, not just in the obvious ways, but signs, symbols, felt sense. Fortunately, you gain a different perspective and a different dimensional experience, and the challenges of life then become also different in dimension. They're not just the 2D or 3D events that are here to hurt you. They're so much more. There's so much more to them. Yeah. So mine was definitely the slow lane.
I don't think there's anything about like the slow or the fast lane. I think it's just our soul deciding the best way for us. And I think that if you are, I've said this before, I think with the men and women are very different, and I might be making a massive generalisation here, but I think because men are naturally so much more logical and analytical, perhaps it does need to be more of a gradual experience so that you can start to integrate it more. Perhaps if something just wham bam happened, it might be easier to sort of, I don't know, to kind of logicize it away almost. I don't know, I'm not sure.
I remember having a reading a long time ago, and the lady said to me, that I'd embarked on this spiritual path, if you like. But if I could imagine a stairway, that the bottom steps were really long and wide. And as the journey goes on and you learn more, they become narrower and steeper. And that's kind of equivalent to the learning process.
Right.
And that made a lot of sense to me, still does.
Yeah. I like that.
I'm somewhere on the stairway now, not at the bottom, not at the top, but my eyes and ears are open, hopefully my heart's open as well, and so jump on board.
Okay, so something that we touched on just a little bit earlier was the wobbles, which is kind of a main theme of this report today. And so that, like we said before, it's the first time that they've mentioned about wobbles. So I just thought it would be nice, like, to kind of explain from your perception how you perceive what a wobble is. What's your understanding of what they mean by that?
Well, I think it's anything that knocks you off your saddle. And that can be work, relationships, money, everything. And we don't like them.
No, we don't.
You know, you can be going along in life and everything's fine and hunky-dory and you're enjoying life, and then all of a sudden something comes in and you know, alters that state, and we get very frustrated and angry with it, and you know, all the emotions come up. But what the DC is saying here is that they're all by design, and they're very intentional, these wobbles. It's just how we perceive them. That's the difficulty, the frustration and the resistance is what causes the wobble to be far more intense.
Carrying on from that, they say, let me just find it, where they say, while an experience is happening, it can feel very painful to you, yet on the other side you feel different within you. So they say different, kind of, not better, they say different. How do you interpret that?
Well, I guess you'd have to reflect on, you know, the most recent wobble you've had, and you know, is it a case of you just feel better because it's over? Well, that would be quite a simplistic way of looking at it, but I think they're going a lot deeper than that. They're sort of suggesting that when we've moved through one of these challenges, these wobbles, somehow you just feel different, and I think what they're alluding to here is expansion. Yeah. And I often ask clients in my practice, mostly if they've come out of a difficult period, is like, would you change anything? And rarely has anyone, if ever, I can't remember ever, has anyone said no, they wouldn't, even in the most difficult situations. One, because you've been and dealt with it. So that whole experience would have been pointless if you changed it. But somewhere, which is probably unexplainable in human language, you feel different. You just know, it's an inner knowing, it's an inner deep knowing that there's something more to it.
Yeah, I think if you are on this path, if you're not, and this leads on to the next thing I wanted to talk about, so they kind of say, how can this be happening to me? Blaming, very easy to kind of blame others for how we're feeling. I think it's quite natural for us to slip into that kind of either blame game or feeling, why is this happening to me? And I think particularly if you're not on this path, it's the absolute most natural reaction to have in any challenge that happens. Your absolute natural reaction is exactly that. But like with your practitioner's hat on, how do you help people to...
Well, we would deeply analyse the situation.
Right.
And if you can't do that yourself, then go and find someone who can help. Sometimes it's just a friend who can offer a different perspective. But it's looking deeper into the situation and looking for the threads, the patterns, the history, and what came out of it. If you just feel the painful experience, then that's all you're going to get. You have to feel the painful experience. And the DC talk about it a bit later in this, don't they? But there's some connection with pain, which, to be honest, I wrangle with a little bit, but then it rescinds when you start to see the bigger picture of it, because the information doesn't need to come through the body anymore. And once you make the connection, and it's not like you're saying, come on, give me more pain or more trouble or more wobbles. It's like, okay, I understand. And you're surrendering to the understanding of what's going on. We never, at this stage in our evolution, we're never going to know the soul level work. It's just not going to happen right now. So we just have to accept that something, of a much grander scale is going on for us personally and collectively. Otherwise, you're going to stay in a small, me, difficult situation.
Yeah. And following on from that, the DCs say like it's the painful experiences that lead us. The painful experiences that lead us that are there for a purpose aren't forever, and that eventually inner peace arrives, and they say your soul self feels its way through life. This is a skill being resurrected. So I interpret that as we were always feeling beings. That was always, like, when we talk about intuition and following our gut, that was always our natural way of being. But and we've touched on it before, from such a young age we're taught that the mind and our thoughts become that's who we bow to, that's the way it is. And so I feel like what they're kind of saying is that the pain actually helps to awaken this, they're calling it a skill, to kind of bring it back. I don't know how you interpret it.
Well, it brings up a lot of things, doesn't it? Because a lot of the religions, I guess mainly the Christian one, I'm not sure, I don't know enough about the others, but they've used pain as a method of control and punishment. And so there's an abuse of pain, if you like, and it's not what the DC are talking about.
Absolutely.
I think what they're trying to get at is we've become so numb in the felt sense and avoided the felt sense that we've needed like a bolt of electricity or a shock in the form of pain in order to start feeling properly. I remember in my acupuncture clinic, one of my first student patients was a young girl who was in a really difficult situation, and she'd had endometriosis, I think, and she felt no pain physically or emotionally. She managed to numb herself from that perspective for her own, to survive, basically. She managed to numb herself out. And anyway, one day she's come in, and my inexperience, I was putting a needle in but leaning over her, and she felt pain for the first time, and her leg shot up, kicked me in the face. Well, I was very happy and slightly concerned all at the same time. So yeah, it's an interesting topic, and I guess again it's how we perceive it. there's the karmic element as well, because it's also very confusing. There are schools of thought that say karma's finished and we've cleared everything that we need, and I think that's on its way, but I don't think we're quite there yet.
Yeah.
I think the idea of humans having to use pain as a way to heal is on its way out. I'm hopeful of that. I'm quite sure that's going to happen, but right now it's here. But it's not punishment, it's to wake the felt sense up.
And that is such a good point, that is exactly how we associate it with punishment. Like, it's so true.
Yeah.
So
it's
true.
not meant to be that way.
And I guess that's like with so much that's been so inverted, hasn't it?
Yeah, people have used it
Yeah.
for their own benefit,
Yeah.
mainly to control.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not the design of it.
No.
Yeah, so the more you can allow yourself to feel, and I think that's what they're talking about.
Yeah,
the pain will disappear when the soul feels, because your soul knows how to feel. And it's reminding us again to wake that aspect up, that when those wobbles come, we can feel our way through, and there'll be no reason to hold on to it. We'll understand it, greater intelligence, greater wisdom, and the body won't need to hold that energy to remind us of what's happening, of the lessons to be learned and understood.
Yeah.
That would be my take.
Yeah. Very helpful. I think it just brings some kind of reality to what they're saying, because it can sound quite abstract.
Well, it needs our human input. I mean, it's a team effort, Otherwise, they'd just give the information to everyone and it'd be fine. But we've got to feel it. We've got to wrestle with it. You've got to wrangle with it. Chew this up, throw it away, and come back and do it again and see if it feels different the next time. Don't just accept everything in blind faith. And don't think you can get everything from a book or just by listening to someone. You've got to feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
And not be scared of it.
Yeah. And I think that, like, just to end on, and I think that's what I've learned just through experience itself, is that our biggest shifts come through our life experience. They don't come through, like I always used to think, the next healing or the next help, whether it was a book or a healer, were going to be my answer, and everything, I was going to build. And
well, they're basically just helping you process what happened before.
Yeah, which has an absolute place, right? But ultimately, we need that help for us to understand what's happened in our life experience, because that's where the actual shift is happening.
Yeah. So you experience life and experience the wobbles.
Yeah. Woe to wobbles.
Let's wobble on. So I hope that helps. Yeah. Feel free to leave any comments.
Yeah,
do go back to the meditation, the healing. It's very strong and very powerful, very helpful. Enjoy that.
Yeah, like if you are in some kind of pain at the moment, and I would really encourage you to listen to it a good few times.
So with that, we'll say thank you and goodbye. Sending you lots of love and blessings, and tune in this time next week.
Yeah, I'll see you next week.
Ciao for now.
Bye.